Beyond the Scoreboard podcast, New Year's Eve edition. Here on Lawrence County SportsNet, powered by LCAP. I'm James Dotson. Glad to bring you the update. Not quite the mid-season update, though I guess 1 month into the year officially for basketball season. Take a look at some of the news, notes, and numbers throughout what we've got so far. And you're right, the season began technically in November this year. Still trying to get used to that, but essentially December games all in the books. All the schools got section/region games into the books as well to start the year, which is kind of nice to get that before the new year happens. Last cycle, we had a couple of our local schools that didn't play any of those section games until after the new year, and that was definitely a difficult scenario. It just didn't quite feel right. So nice to get, at least one for everybody, but 2 or 3 or even more for the rest of all the teams in the WPIL and / District 10 for the Lawrence County teams at least. And also very nice to see that we have all 16 county schools with a win in the first portion of the season, which is also really cool to be seeing. And in fact, you have a good number of schools who are still undefeated. The Wilmington girls and the Union girls, both still unbeaten through the end of 2024. On the boys' side, Newcastle unbeaten in their first 6 games. Game against Alderdice there at Geneva. A big fun non-section conference, or non-section challenge to end the 2024 year. They were the last unbeaten team on the boys' side of things, and the Shannock boys with 1 loss, Union boys now with a pair of losses on the year. A lot of tough non-section games all the way through. Wilmington, gotta give them a shout out. Their boys started the year 5-0. One of the best starts in recent memory for the Hounds boys. So we're going to look at all the teams, give a quick little breakdown, who some of the top performers have been, a couple of the big wins for everybody. But before that, we have another piece of business that we need to attend to here, and that's going to begin with announcing here our December award winners, our LCAP Team of the Month, as well as our Red Zone Male and Female Athlete of the Month. And all 3 athletes, yes, there you go. Spoiler alert, 3 athletes of the month, 2 on the girls' side, 1 on the boys' side, all achieved big milestones in the month of December. So let's get right into it. Your December Red Zone Male Athlete of the Month goes to Union's Lucas Stanley, who we knew it wasn't going to take him long, and it didn't. It was opening night of the year for the youngest of the 4 Stanley brothers to get his 1,000th career point. In fact, on that opening night victory down at Elwood City, he had 35 points in that game. So he becomes, for Union, all-time, I believe it's the 12th different player in Union boys basketball history. Let me check my numbers here. Actually, correct me on that. He is the 18th different player in Union basketball history. I'll get it right. 17th player in Union basketball history on the boys' side to hit 1,000 career points. And in fact, he's already vaulted himself up into the top 10 in terms of career scoring on the boys' side. Has quite a ways to go to get to dad and to get to older brother Matthew. They're currently ranked 3rd and 1st, respectively, on the all-time marks. But congratulations to Lucas Stanley, your Red Zone Male Athlete of the Month, for hitting his 1,000th career point. And let's just look at that real quick with Union on the year, because it has been the Lucas Stanley show, as you would have expected. He was the really only main player returning who got consistent minutes throughout the course of the season, and he's averaging a county high 26 points per game, just shy of 26 points per game to start the year. So again, congratulations to Lucas Stanley as your Red Zone Male Athlete of the Month. And Must be something in the waters up there at the Cavelli Fieldhouse there at Union, because we also have a girls basketball player for the Lady Scots who eclipsed the 1,000 career point total. Kylie Frustorfer got her 1,000th point as well in the section opener against Aquinas Academy. So she started off the month strong, and my word, did she finish it strong in the holiday tournament against Southside. A career high 27 points, including she also hit her 200th career three-pointer in that game. So lots of milestones there being set for Union's Kylie Frustorfer. And again, just for some quick numbers on her, she became the 6th player all-time at the Union girls side of things to get 1,000 career points. Long way to go again to get to Carlin Busby. Still needs another about 650 points to pass her up in the all-time list. But a great start to the year, and that was the number that was really stuck out to me in looking at it when she got 27 in that game against Southside, and that was her career high. She's just been a consistent point scorer since her freshman year, building up gradually each and every season. She's averaging 19 points a game here this year, but she's not going to be someone who goes out and puts up 40, 41, even in the 30s points in a game for Union. But she's just been a nice, consistent, and you've seen it all this year. Her point totals, 18, 18, 17, 19, 21, 19, just right up there, consistent the entire way. So a big shout out to her, Kylie Frustorfer, your female Red Zone Athlete of the Month. And I did mention 3 because we have a co-female Athlete of the Month. Shout out to Rihanna Boyce of Newcastle. She got her 1,000th career point in the holiday game against Ambridge. She is averaging just shy of 20 points per game as well. Again, another player who has just been really consistent over the course of her 4 years with the Canes, getting upper teens, low 20s in most of her games here this season. But Rihanna Boyce, congratulations. The hardworking, all 3 of them, can't say enough about how hardworking that they are overall, and that's all you ever hear from the coaches as well. So can't give a big enough shout out. 1,000 career points, that is a milestone to say the very least, and very worthy of being our male and female athletes of the month. So Rihanna Boyce of Newcastle, as well as Kylie Frustorfer for Union as the female Red Zone Athletes of the Month. And again, Lucas Stanley as the male Red Zone Athlete of the Month. Again, and just to put it into perspective, Kylie and Rihanna are only the 61st and 62nd player in Lawrence County girls basketball history to go over 1,000 career points. So very, very rare numbers there. And if you look at it on the boys' side, Lucas became the 106th different player in Lawrence County history to go over 1,000 career points. And we're probably going to have at least one more on the boys' side and one more on the girls' side coming up over the course of this season if averages maintain as they are. So we'll be having more of these sorts of announcements and awards, I believe, coming up over the course of this season. Want to mention, while we have a moment here before we take our first break here of the Beyond the Scoreboard podcast, other players who already were over 1,000 career points. Bobby Fadden, he's in the top 50 right now on boys' all-time scoring list for Mohawk. He hit 1,000 points during the playoffs of his sophomore season last year. So he is going to keep on climbing up those record books. And on the girls' side, how about this one? Leah Crayrup became the all-time leading scorer at Wilmington girls basketball last season. Guess what? She has now jumped into the top 10 in Lawrence County girls basketball scoring. She is just shy of 1,500 career points now in her fantastic career. And again, that Wilmington team off to an incredible start. So a little bit of a teaser there when we talk about the upcoming, when we break down each of these teams here on our Beyond the Scoreboard podcast. Again, it is brought to you by Penn Ohio Bottled Water. Make sure you give them a call for delivery of your 3 to 5 gallon water cooler systems. Remember, you can get custom labeled options as well through Penn Ohio Bottled Water. Big shout out to them. Big shout out to everyone here at the Lawrence County SportsNet, powered by LCAP. We're going to take our first break here of this podcast. It is the New Year's Eve. Don't you drop the ball. Should you come on back? Beyond the Scoreboard podcast here at lcsportsnet.com. It's delivered by Penn Ohio Bottled Water.
Dry, call the Penn Ohio Bottled Water Company for the fastest and most efficient bottled water delivery service in the area. Penn Ohio offers bottled water ranging from 16.9-ounce bottles to 5-gallon jugs, perfect for your next event or office water cooler system. Also, don't forget to ask about their custom labeling options. Visit PennOhioBottledWater.com for more information and to get a quote on their delivery services. Whether it's at home, in the office, or on the sidelines, Penn Ohio has you covered.
Thank you for calling Axe. Where can we take you today?
To work, to the store, to Grandma's house. Axe can get you there, but it's much more than a ride. It's a joyride.
I'm helping people. I'm getting them out of their house. I'm taking them to their doctors, to the grocery store.
They say I'm entertaining. Okay, we laugh, we joke, we sing, we tell stories.
They're like family to us.
Even if it's the same day, to schedule your joyride, call Axe today.
Hey, happy holiday season to everybody out there, and happy early new year as well for everybody celebrating, ringing out 2024 and bringing in 2025. Again, glad to be here on the Penn Ohio Bottled Water podcast, Beyond the Scoreboard, here at lcsportsnet.com. Again, I'm James Dotson. Glad to bring all the fun to you. And again, congratulations to those Red Zone Athletes of the Month, Lucas Stanley, as well as Kylie Frustorfer and Rihanna Boyce. We didn't mention our LCAP Team of the Month. So that's what happens when you don't have Lee, Eric, and Tim here to keep me on track. Got to go with a big shout out to, again, we have a lot of undefeated basketball teams. How about Laurel Wrestling, a 13-2 start? First off, 15 matches under their belt in the month of December, and a couple, I believe, right at the end of November. But 15 matches under their belt already, a 13-2 start to the year. They just have been in these duels galore and these kind of mini tournaments over the course of the season so far. Those two losses are both, by the way, to out-of-district opponents, not from the WPIL. And they got a couple of wins against West Allegheny, Pine Richland, big schools and wrestling programs there, and a couple big ones in non-section play, including one that they did at Wilmington, part of the co-op there with Laurel. The Laurel and Wilmington co-op defeated Commodore Perry right before the holiday break as well. So big congratulations to Coach Carmichael and the Laurel Spartans wrestling team as our December LCAP Team of the Month. Great program, continuing to see it grow. It has been strong and continues to grow. And I'd say I was told, too, that they've had a lot of players who have not even been able to get fully onto the mat this year, just in terms of illness, injury, all the above, just trying to work through. And to have a team at a 2A level that has enough secondary options to be able to plug and play, some who then have to go and move to different weight classes and all that, to be able to get a full lineup out there for a full team meet, and they've done that again consistently these past few years, and especially to start the 2024-25 campaign. So again, Laurel Wrestling, your LCAP Team of the Month. Let's take a look at what we got so far for the basketball season. Your update here on the Lawrence County SportsNet's Beyond the Scoreboard podcast. again, delivered by Penn Ohio Bottled Water. Let's start on the girls' side. We'll start with Class 5A and work our way down. Newcastle, a 6-3 record to begin the season. Two of those 3 losses, though, coming in their 2 section games against Montour and Moon. Again, this 5A classification is just absolutely stacked. And Section 3, definitely one of the tougher ones that you're going to have to face over the course of this season. South Fayette and Char Valley, 2 teams that are really good still to come up on that Newcastle schedule. But Newcastle, credit a very small roster. They are finding ways to win games. And I think what's been really noteworthy is that you are seeing a multitude of scorers. Rihanna Boyce obviously is the one who's leading the way, just shy of 20 points per game on the year. But you're finding some other viable options that are getting you, not double-digit points per game, but just every once in a while, getting that 6, that 8 points, and then not being it, having 3 or 4 players all at that 6 or 8 points each to give a bit of a balanced, more well-rounded score line. Shout out Karma Chalella and Roger Roberson as 2 of the top scorers. Valerie and Kamaya have also been up there in terms of the consistent point scoring over the course of the year so far. But again, good start to the year for Coach Donato Joseph there at Newcastle. Coach Kara fighting the good fight. Again, tough games coming up for sure. Still to go in Class 5A, Section 3, but a 6-3 start, nothing to sneeze at, and especially getting a 1,000-point score on that roster as well. Big kudos to everyone there at Newcastle. Let's jump down to Class 3A, Section 1. You have Mohawk and Elwood City at the moment. That are, well, not at the moment, all year. They're the teams that are in Class 3A, Section 1. Mohawk, we'll start with them at 3-5 overall, but 2-1 in section play, including getting a big section win right before the end of the calendar year to defeat Stowe Rocks on the 19th. That one was real huge, just to really, that propels Mohawk right into the swing of things for being a potential playoff team when you look at everything.
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs.
Yeah, we're too early to talk about playoffs. Yes, I get it, but you gotta look at it because you assume that Olsh is going to be a team that's up there. Riverside is playing really, really well. They've defeated a number of Lawrence County teams. They defeated Newcastle. They defeated Elwood City. We'll talk about them in a minute. They defeated Laurel as well. This is the Riverside team that is looking really good. I think those 2 are probably your top 2 that will be in the playoffs. Beyond that, where are we going to go? Beaver Falls, really small numbers. Not sure what they're going to fully be this year. I'll talk about Elwood City in a moment. Quaker Valley, they got Mimi Thero, and she is great. I mean, you got a 6'4" player, but so far it's been just Mimi. They haven't been able to get that secondary option, so they've struggled a little bit. I think that it's very possible you could see Mohawk and Elwood City getting the 3rd and 4th playoff spots here out of Section 1, or potentially a tie somewhere in there if a 5th-place team ends up making it. But I think this win by Mohawk over Stowe Rocks, I think, really, really propels them in, not only in the standings, but just in general of some confidence heading into this holiday break for sure. Give a shout out to McKenna Stewart putting up 17 points, a career high in that win over Stowe Rocks. And again, you want to talk about the balance. I mean, Maddie Crawford, Gigi Pizzulo, we mentioned McKenna Stewart, Reagan Magno, kind of being a balanced scoring threat. Nobody is averaging double figures. In fact, your top scorer right now is McKenna Stewart at 7 points per game. Yes, that's right, just 7. But when you have 3 others who are all averaging 6 or above, and you had a couple of really rough games to start the year. I mean, look at, low scoring games against Riverside, against Wilmington, against Laurel, 3 pretty darn good programs to start your campaign. You're going to find ways to win. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be defensive. They play really good defense, guys. I know, again, the 70-some-odd points they allowed to Wilmington really doesn't do justice to what Coach Bell has his team doing, especially on the defensive end. So keep your eye on Mohawk, kind of flying a little under the radar here to start the season. Elwood City at 5-4, a tough loss to Laurel in the Shenango tournament, but then bouncing back to defeat Shenango the next night. the loss at Riverside is going to be the tough one to start the year. But again, that's a really good Riverside team, and I think one that Coach Wise and company will be looking at for a little revenge in that rival cup when they come back. And the difference is Elwood City is scoring points in their games. They've allowed more than I'm sure that they would like in a couple of them. But when you have 3 players who are averaging double digits, they can go on a run and they can score and play and beat anybody when you have scores like Delaney Sturgeon, Kayla Jones, and Caitlin Kreitzer. Again, all 3 are averaging over 11 points per contest on the year. But right now, Elwood City at 1-2 in the section is looking on the outside in. Again, very early in the season. Can't look too much into it because you haven't even played everybody in your section once yet. So keep an eye on that. But that Elwood City versus Mohawk game, I think, is going to be very telling. And that one is, guess what, just about 48 hours away. That game at Elwood City on January the 2nd. I'll hold my thoughts on the playing on this couple days right after New Year's. I'll hold my thoughts on that until after our next break. Let's continue forward with the Class 2A schedule on the girls' side, and let's look at Neshannock and what a great, again, start to the season they've had. We've talked about how good this team is expected to be over the next few years. A very young roster, no seniors on the roster, but you're getting what you expect with Jaden Nogue and Peyton Newman as your 2 leading scorers, both at 14-plus points per game. A couple of tough wins over the holiday tournament as well. In non-section play, defeated Armstrong and then defeated both Maplewood and Hickory in the Hickory tournament. And then we mentioned Beaver Falls as a team not sure of. That's team Neshannock went against on the 30th here as well. So getting some tougher teams lined up. Again, still impressive that they played 2 in one night in preseason tournament. We're playing McLean and Quaker Valley at 2 different venues in the same day as well. But mention with Jaden and Peyton, we know that J and P are going to do their thing. Sophia Bonner, Ainsley Allison, both averaging 7 points a game as well, kind of as that 3rd and 4th scoring option, being consistent in their roles. And I think that's what's going to be key. And their big one going down to Aliquippa to begin 2025. Again, that game on Thursday the 2nd. The other teams in the section, Laurel and Shenango, both looking for their first win. Laurel, though, a mercy rule win over Elwood City in the tournament there at Shenango, and then a close loss against Riverside. Those are 2 good games for Coach LaRocco, and he said it best when we talked to them in the preseason that he wants his teams to be good at the end of the year. They've been strong, okay strong at the beginning of the year, but you can see already that progression that they were looking for. How about Cheyenne Tyndall putting up 34 in a game against Burgettstown earlier in the season as well. But big kudos to Laurel, and you can tell too. Go check out their Instagram page. They're having fun. Go look at the celebration they had after that Elwood City win what do you want to call it? Pranking, duping Coach LaRocco during his post-game talk. Big shout-out to them. And that's also a testament because they bounced back after what was one of the most impressive defensive performances I think I've seen in a long time. Can't go without mentioning it. Neshannock holding Laurel to 6 points in a section game, 47-6 earlier in the year. That was actually one of the last section games before this holiday break. So to come back from that immediately and playing a game against Wilmington, we'll talk about the Hounds in a second, but then go and play 2 really good games against Elwood City and Riverside. I think looking upward for sure for Laurel. Shenango, again, shout out to them. They got a win under their belt, defeating New Brighton here earlier this year. Know it was going to be a rough run for sure with only 8 players, 7 players on the roster to deal with all year for Coach O'Hara. But again, making strides and moving forward in each and every game. Amara DeFrank and Ella Farrell continuing to put up points, averaging just shy of 10 a game for each of them. And then in Class 1A, the Union Lady Scots, as we mentioned earlier, 9-0. Kylie averaging 19 a game. And then again, the balance after that. No one else is averaging double figures, but just listen to these numbers. Mia Pruz, 7 per game. Liv Benedict, 7 per game. Maggie Joseph, Hayden Strickler, Miera Gunn, each at 6 per game. Addie Noge at 4 per game. Right there, you've already got 6 other options that are consistently putting up 5, 6, 7 points. You can't just focus on one player. You can try to take Kylie out of the game. You're going to have somebody else, and not just one person. You're going to have multiple who can go and step up and knock down the shots when they need to. And again, they're going to win it on defense. Mia Cruz was a rebound away from a triple-double in that game against Aquinas Academy. So, yeah, they have a lot of promise coming up. They will be taking on Springdale on Friday. They've moved that game from Thursday to Friday as part of a doubleheader. That's a 4 o'clock start against Springdale on Friday the 3rd, with the boys' games tipping off that evening, JV and then varsity at their normal 7:30 time. Finally, for Wilmington, we mentioned Leah Crarup at 22 a game. Reese Bruckner, the secondary option at 13 per game. And Kara Deal, man, has she been dealing early, pun intended, with 8 points per contest for her. But Crarup had 42 points, and what they determined was a program record 8 3-pointers in that win over Laurel over the non-section right before the holiday break began. Huge shout out to everything that she's done, and again, that team as a whole, what Coach Shekovic is doing with them has been really impressive, to say the least. They're going to play Red Bank Valley on Friday. Our friends at Sports Radio 96.7 will have coverage of that one. It'll be a big battle and a great test for sure for the undefeated Greyhounds before they get going even more into their region play here coming up. They are 3-0. Kennedy Catholic is 3-0. Kind of expected it. Those would be the two teams with the most to contend with for that Region 1 title. But, I mean, you just look at these score lines. The lowest point total for Wilmington was defeating Lakeview 55-29. Their next lowest were a couple of games where they scored 69. Rest of the games are in the 70s or even in the 80s. So they are putting up points, but also look at it the other way. Most points they've allowed, 45 to Laurel, 38 to Sharon, 37 to Franklin. They are not allowing many points either. The defense, in a word, suffocating. Big test coming up when they go and play, though, Kennedy Catholic for sure. That's in a couple of weeks on Thursday, January the 16th. Again, they will start with Red Bank Valley, though, coming out of the holiday break. We need to, speaking of breaks, take one more quick break. And when we come back, we will go over to the boys' side of things, take a look at how the season is going so far for the guys. That's when we return here on Lawrence County SportsNet's Beyond the Scoreboard podcast at lcsportsnet.com.
I love what I do because coming in every day is different.
How can you not enjoy these kids coming up and hugging you and giving you these great smiles all throughout the day?
You guys ready? Seeing the progress that our kids make every single day is one of the reasons I love coming to school.
What should we do? We have fun.
LCAP Early Learning Centers is hiring. Help empower young minds in Lawrence County and become a superhero today. Apply at lcap.org.
Don't get left out to dry. Call the Penn Ohio Bottled Water Company for the fastest and most efficient bottled water delivery service in the area. Penn Ohio offers bottled water ranging from 16.9-ounce bottles to 5-gallon jugs, perfect for your next event or office water cooler system. Also, don't forget to ask about their custom labeling options. Visit pennohiobottledwater.com for more information and to get a quote on their delivery services. Whether it's at home, in the office, or on the sidelines, Penn Ohio has you covered.
For those of you who think you can do a better job at officiating, please go to PIAA.org, click on how to become official, take your test, and see how you can do.
Limon always giving the great insights there and the great recommendations. Big shout out to all of our officials out there for sure. I can't say it enough. Yes, go to PIAA.org, become an official. Hey, youth officials too. We need these younger officials working their way into the programs. Big shout out to all those who are beginning that process here as well. Big shout out. I got to do it, guys. I'm sorry. I made it this long. We have to. Penn State, they got to win. They got another great one coming up for sure. Man, would I love to see them go against the Irish, though, too. Good luck to Notre Dame. Eric, Lee, your boys. Do I have to say it to Tim, too? Good luck? Nope, can't do it. Sorry, Tim. College football coming up tonight and tomorrow, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, in the new playoffs format.
Playoffs?
That's right, playoffs. Enough fun. Let's move over to the guys' side of things. Before we do, I mentioned I would leave it until after break. Having section games on January 2nd baffles me. Especially, I get it. If it was in a section where you had so many teams that you were playing every single Tuesday, Friday for the boys, or Monday, Thursday for the girls, beginning on December 12th, the entire way through. So, for example, your sections like what Union girls have, what Union boys have. The Class 2A for the boys, Class 1A for the girls, or Class 3A for the girls as well. 1,000%, it is what it is. There's just not enough weeks in the year to really make it happen. Class 2A for the girls, though, in the WPIL, when there are only how many teams are there in Class 2A's girls? Just 6 of them. So there are 2 weeks that are essentially bye weeks to begin the year, and then when you flip over the calendar and go to play everybody a second time, you have another 2 weeks that are off weeks for all of the teams in the section. So you are having off games basically that week of, what would that be, January 16th and January 19th. Nobody in the section is playing section games, but they're all playing games on January 2nd. Why? Why couldn't you have that week be an off week? Then bring in, so you're starting your games after section on January 6th with everyone else on that Monday. Then instead of a full week of no section games, it's just one off day on that Monday or Thursday, whatever it happens to be, and you're right back into the second half of section schedule with just one off night, so to speak, in terms of your typical Monday, Thursday section. Seems like a pretty easy solution. I would love to see if that can be remedied even in mid-cycle for next year, because having a game right after New Year's like that, it's like going back to school on January 2nd. No, thank you. No one wants to be there. You're not going to get the best performance that first day right after New Year's. Yeah, the most disciplined teams are going to win those games. And again, you got a big one, probably for a section championship, essentially, between the Neshannock and Aliquippa as a great example of one that's not going to, that you need to be able to go and look at. So, again, I digress. There's me and my little monologue here on Beyond the Scoreboard. We go beyond the scoreboard and talk about all the important factors for sure that go into what makes a good matchup all around. Let's get back and talk about the boys, because one of those that we just mentioned, Union not playing on Tuesday, the girls playing with a doubleheader with the boys coming up on Friday night. The girls at 4, boys JV after, and then the boys varsity scheduled to start at 7:30 against Shenango. So this section 4 is just really impressive as you look at it. Neshannock 3-0 at the top of the section. Union at 2-1 right now in section play, tied with Southside, Shenango, and Olsh. Rochester at 1-2, Laurel and Western Beaver at 0-3. A deep section. We knew it was going to be. We'll start with Union at 8-3, just because we talked about their doubleheader coming up. I mentioned Lucas Stanley as the male athlete of the month, 25.5 points per game. It's can they consistently have the secondary scoring? Jordan Kelly had a 16-point performance in their win against Laurel. Landon Eckert put up a career-high 28 in the opening holiday tournament. Maddox Thompson working his way back into the rotation. Jamel Mitchell also with double-figure point totals in a couple of his games this year. If those two especially can consistently work their way forward, I think they're going to be seeing lots of successful games for the Union Scotties. And we look forward to the game they're going to have against Shenango on Friday night. We'll have coverage of that one, by the way, at lcsportsnet.com on Friday night. We'll have the girls' game against Springdale to start the evening as well. But when you look at Shenango and what Coach Chez has done with that team, again, spreading the wealth is going to be the key. Joe Campoli is definitely the breadwinner, averaging 17 points a game. But when you throw in Braden George, they were our co-MVPs of the game in their win against Laurel before the holiday break. Tegan Russo is a guy to keep your eye on because he is shooting lights out from beyond the arc. If you can get him and a couple of these other guys going with a little bit more consistency, Gavin Bruce being another one, I think that's where you're going to see this team really start to flourish because Joe can do what he does. He got the first 10 points against Neshannock in that game on his own. They can put up the points. Can they do it consistently through 4 quarters? Against Neshannock, they couldn't. Against Laurel, they were able to. I think we see more of that second game like you saw against Laurel. I think that's what you're going to see more of this Shenango team down the stretch. And if so, this is going to be a team that is a tough out, again, because you can take out Campoli. You got others who are going to jump in, and you have multiple other options is what it's kind of growing into, and that will be the key. Neshannock on their end, again, the same kind of story with that when you have the scoring options, but you have the defense first. And that's what Coach Corey's program has always been. A 7-1 start to the year now for the Lancers. Their one loss actually just coming here in the holiday tournament, a 1-point loss against a pretty good Grove City team from up in District 10. But that's a Grove City team that, if I'm not mistaken, was averaging in the 60s or 70s in terms of points per game. And they were held to just 41 in that contest. Let me double check the number. Yeah, they were averaging over 60 a game before that loss, or before that win, a 41-40 win over Neshannock. But Grove City's 8-2. That's a great team right there. And what I like about Neshannock is that they have again multiple scoring options. They don't have the one guy who's going to put up 20 a game, but you have Parada, who's averaging 14 per contest. Davey Quat, who's averaging 12 per game. Jake Rind, who's averaging 10 per game. And then you still got Talon Anderton, Matt Sobko, who are both prolific scorers that really haven't taken off much yet this year, to be blatantly honest. Anderton, I believe, finished the year averaging double figures last year after a strong playoff run. So you got lots of different options to go for. And everybody getting involved again with that Lancer team. Getting a loss here in December might not be the worst thing in the world for them, but again, they're going to have a tough stretch of games coming up at the turn of the calendar when they have to go Union to wrap up section play, and then taking on Olsh that same Friday. That's going to be the week to look at: hosting Union, traveling to Olsh to turn the calendar, essentially. That's in a couple of weeks. They will also have a game at Westminster College next weekend, the weekend of the 10th, 11th. They'll be taking on Nazareth Prep. Again, another good non-section opponent for the Lancers as well. In Class 2A, well, actually, before we go up to Class 3A, let's flip over to District 10 and talk about the Wilmington boys for a second, and talk about Freddie Zettner and Wesley Vascal, both averaging double figures. Landon Klein averaging 8 points a game as well. Started 5-0, did this Wilmington team. Again, a quick start. We'll see how it goes now that region play is beginning. One region game under their belts already. Did not go in the way of the Greyhounds in that one. But still, again, a strong start, something to build on. And Coach Marmo believes that they can be involved and be active in all their region games. In fact, they were winning at halftime in that loss to West Middlesex, 49-37. They will take on Kennedy Catholic in their first game. Again, they don't play again until January 7th against Kennedy Catholic. So that's the game to keep an eye on. In fact, I believe we will be there for that one for the Greyhounds against the Golden Eagles. So Wilmington, again, a little consistency can go a long way. Getting a couple of wins under their belt. Getting the first one was big. I mean, snapping, 35 in a row, something like that. Getting that one was huge, but then getting 4 more immediately after was just as legendary. So best of luck to them the rest of the year. And again, we will see them coming up in a little over a week's time. Now let's jump up to Class 3A and look at the Elwood City and Mohawk contingent in Class 3A's WPIL basketball standings. So Section 1, and right now, those two teams are at the top with Aliquippa as the undefeated teams in Section 1 so far. Elwood City at 3-0, the only 3-0 team so far to play 3 games. Again, with only 7, is that right? 7, there are, I'm sorry. Yeah, 7 teams in Class 3A Section 1. So they're going to have one team with an off night, each week. Elwood City, as a result, is the only 3-0 team on the year. You knew Aaron Lake was going to be a big part of this team. How about averaging 18 and 12, 18 points and 12 rebounds per game? And again, after that, there is a drop-off, but a balance after that between Chris Smiley, Chucky Schweinsberg, Caleb Cervic. 6 different players have put up double figures in a game this year for Coach Bradley. I think that speaks volumes already right there of what kind of balance that you can get with this team and a 6-4 record now to start the year. They will turn the calendar with that game against Mohawk on Friday. It is down at Elwood City. Our friends at ECS will have the coverage of that one, and we'll have all the links posted because that will be a big one in terms of section superiority there in Section 1 of Class 3A. Talk about superiority. Top 2 scorers of the year have both come from Mohawk. Actually, they're number 2 and number 3 in terms of single game performances. Bobby Fadden putting up a 33 ball early in the year. Drew Rona has a game with 32 points scored on the year. Mohawk 8-2 overall. They are perfect 2-0 in section play. Getting a couple of big wins in that Sharon tournament. An overtime win against Kiski. Yes, Kiski area coming all the way north. That's a Class 5A team that plays some pretty good basketball. Mohawk able to take care of them and then play in a tight game against Sharon at Sharon. Not an easy place to go on the road and win a game. And they were able to pull one off there with Bobby Fadden playing at his mother's alma mater there at Sharon. But those two, again, Fadden and Rona, but don't sleep on Joey Nail. He had a couple of slow point totals in their first couple of games of the year. He's coming on strong, double figures now in, I believe it's 5 of the last 6 games that he's played. And Vinny Pizzulo as well, really consistently in that 8, 9, 10, 11 points over the last 3 or 4 games as well. So again, getting a variety of scoring options for Coach O'Lear and this Mohawk team. The Quips, I still think, are going to be considered the favorites, but this Warriors against Wolverines game coming up on Friday is going to be very telling to what the teams are going to be doing down the stretch. I need to back to Class 2A. I forgot to talk about the Laurel Spartans again. Getting a couple of wins early, a couple of tough section losses for sure, but a team that's going to give you a fight each and every time out there. You know that they're going to go, run like crazy, run through a wall. That's what Coach Locke teams always do. And again, they're getting a multitude of different scorers between Jay Niorio and Lucas Santini. Mason Ernst having a strong start to the year. It's can they get it to happen on the same night? I think has been the biggest issue you've seen. You haven't seen a lot of times where, hey, Luca has a 15 points night and Jay Niorio has a 16-point night. It's usually been one or the other. If they can get that balance all around, maybe get Seth Gilmore involved a little more in the scoring. He had a pretty good game right before the holiday break as well. Vern Sipes had a couple of good games coming off of the bench. If you can get a couple of those in one night to all come together, this is a scary team. You don't want to be having to be in a 1 or 2 possession game against Laurel because they will grit, they will grind, and they will find a way. Speaking of finding a way, how about Newcastle doing it yet again, and doing it in a bit of a different way with the freshman as the leading scorer. We'll have to go back and try to look at that and see the last time. We know that there have been a couple of times that you've had a top scorer for Newcastle being a freshman, but the number 1 scorer in points per game. Yeah, I mean, When Mike Wells was there, you had like the Sheldon Cox, who was the senior and who was the top scorer. When Isaiah Boyce was a senior, you had the Mikes who were the upperclassmen who were the top scoring options, and then Isaiah as your 2, 3, or 4 scoring option. Right now, Kai Cox has been the most consistent, especially on the interior. Only 6 foot, but he plays a lot bigger than that. He's averaging 19 points a game, and that's been so clutch to open things up on the outside for Ralphie Blundo and Damian Harrison from beyond the arc. If this team keeps doing what we know they can do, how huge was Damian Harrison buzzer beater on the little runner? And notice what they did. They put the ball in the hands of the freshman to make a drive to either put it to the hole or find an open man. He wasn't able to do either on the play. Great defense. Butler knocked it away, but Damian Harrison, Johnny on the spot, able to pick it up, and Mike can drill it in at the buzzer to win that game at Butler. Again, talk about places that are not easy to win on the road. Really big for Newcastle to get that section win. They are 3-0 now to start section play. And, winning your first 7 games of the year again. Yeah, pretty impressive for sure. They will take on Seneca Valley, and then next week at Pine Richland and hosting Fox Chapel to round out the section schedule for the next couple of weeks here for Newcastle. But Fox Chapel, Fox Chapel, Seneca Valley, and Pine Richland in some order. Those are the other 3 teams that are currently in the top 4 of the standings here in Section 1 Class 6A. Canes and Fox Chapel both at 3-0. Pine Richland and Seneca Valley both at 2-1. Well, I hope that about does it here for this edition of Beyond the Scoreboard, the Lawrence County SportsNet podcast delivered by Penn Ohio Bottled Water. Again, big shout out to them. Make sure you give them a call. Those custom label options, can't thank them enough for everything they do for us. Coach Jez, big shout out to him. Great start to his career as head coach of his alma mater at Shenango. And again, big shout out to everything that he does for us, allowing us to deliver each and every week. I'm James Dotson saying so long and stay tuned. Big games on Friday at lcsportsnet.com. Your voice for Lawrence County sports.
The gold ball headed home to Newcastle.